Michael Jordan began the 1992 playoffs with a performance that reminded everyone why the Bulls were the reigning NBA champions. In Game 1 of the Eastern Conference first round against the Miami Heat, a young franchise making its postseason debut, Jordan delivered a masterpiece. 46 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists, 3 steals, and a block in 41 minutes, as Chicago cruised to a 113-94 victory. It wasn't just the numbers. It was the control, the pace, the authority Jordan imposed on the game. This wasn't simply about scoring, though he poured in 21 of 34 shots and made all 4 of his free throws. It was about dominance from every area of the floor. He directed the tempo, anchored the offense, and disrupted Miami's rhythm with timely defensive plays. Whenever the Heat seemed to find any footing, Jordan snatched it back. The first quarter was perhaps the only moment when Miami had a breath of hope. Led by Steve Smith and Glenn Rice, the Heat took an early lead and finished the period ahead 27-24. Jordan, however, was already in rhythm. He scored 8 quick points during a short burst in the opening frame, showing flashes of what was to come. The second quarter was when Jordan took complete control. With his team needing a spark, he poured in 15 points in a dazzling display of mid-range jumpers, drives through traffic, and smooth post moves. The Bulls took the lead and never relinquished it. Every time Miami responded with a bucket or a small run, Jordan calmly answered with a basket of his own or a pass that created one for a teammate. He wasn't just scoring. Jordan's court vision was razor-sharp, threading passes to cutters, finding shooters like Scottie Pippen or Horace Grant in the right spots, and dictating every action with poise. He registered 9 assists, coming within a breath of a triple-double, but what stood out was how those assists felt as valuable as his points: timely, deliberate, momentum-shifting. Then came the third quarter, and Jordan went back to work. Another 15 points poured in, this time with more flair and aggression. Miami's defense began to show cracks under his constant pressure. Ronnie Sakeli fouled out, Brian Shaw couldn't stay in front, and Steve Smith, despite his scoring, had no answer for the onslaught. Jordan scored from every angle: pull-up jumpers, acrobatic finishes at the rim, and smooth fadeaways. He attacked double teams and slipped through traps like water. When the quarter ended with Chicago up 87-73, Jordan had already put the game on ice. The fourth quarter was largely academic. The Bulls maintained control, pushed the lead past 20 at times, and Jordan continued to orchestrate. He added rebounds, hunted loose balls, and chased Heat shooters off the line. His defensive awareness was on full display, highlighted by 3 steals and a block that ignited fast breaks the other way. What made the performance even more impressive was the context. Jordan had been dealing with back spasms earlier in the week. There were mild concerns about his readiness coming into the game. But from the opening tip, he moved like he had something to prove, like the championship he had won the previous June wasn't enough. And in truth, that was always the Jordan edge. He was never satisfied. Game 1 wasn't about beating the 8th-seeded Miami Heat. It was about setting the tone for the entire postseason. He wasn't just looking to win. He was sending a message to the rest of the league that the road to the title still ran through Chicago, and that the league's best player was already operating at playoff speed. Beyond the headline numbers, Jordan's presence also elevated his teammates. Will Perdue scored 16 points, including 14 in the second half, many off feeds from Jordan. Horace Grant added 15, Scottie Pippen contributed 11, and the Bulls looked like a well-oiled machine around their centerpiece. Every Bulls run began or ended with Jordan's hands on the ball. For Miami, it was a baptism by fire. Playing in the first playoff game in franchise history, the Heat competed admirably early. Steve Smith led the team with 19 points, Glenn Rice had 17, and Sakeli battled inside until he fouled out. But the talent gap, and more importantly, the gap in experience, was exposed as soon as Jordan took over. Miami simply had no counter. Keith Askins hit 2 threes in the second quarter to briefly give Miami a 4-point lead, but it was fleeting. Once Jordan locked in, there was no recovering. Even with 5 turnovers, Jordan's performance was nearly flawless. He dictated every inch of the court, brought playoff intensity from the tip, and left no doubt that he was still the standard. His 46 points were not just a total, they were a statement that the Bulls were not easing into the playoffs. They were attacking it. This was Jordan in his prime, playing like it was June, not April. The precision, the patience, the explosiveness, it was all there. The Bulls would go on to sweep the Heat in 3 games, but it was Game 1 that made the loudest statement. The defending champs were back, and Michael Jordan was already playing like he wanted ring number 2.